I am melting. London is burning. But Arsenal have signed Ceballos and Saliba on the same day. Hello and welcome back to the Chronicles of a Gooner, the Arsenal podcast, brought to you by the Last Man Standing Loser.com. As ever, I am your host, Harry Symeou, and as you can see, I am sweating buckets. London is burning, it's boiling hot. I'm in a vest. I don't give a shit, to be honest. Apologies, it's not the best sight. Well, seeing me with hardly any clothes on, but I don't care because, I mean, we're all melting today, aren't we? And I got on the tube today earlier on, and you know what? I was like fearing the worst. I thought, shit, I'm gonna get on there. I'm gonna sweat. I'm gonna boil. It's gonna be terrible. But fortunately, I wasn't traveling during rush hour, so it wasn't too bad. But that's enough about me. Let's talk about the Arsenal because today we have had two announcements in regards to transfers. We've been hearing it's tomorrow for days now, but we finally know what's going on. Arsenal have announced the signings of two players. William Saliba was the latest one. Now he's in the headlines of the Arsenal website at the moment with the hashtag Saliba signs. He will spend a season back with St Etienne, though, as we all expected. And it says that he's joined on a long-term contract. Doesn't tell us exactly how long the contract is. There's not that level of detail in the statement, but it does say this. The much sought-after centre-half will spend a season back on loan at St Etienne before joining our squad next summer. Head coach Unai Emery said, "We're delighted William is joining us. Many teams wanted him, but he decided he wanted to come to us and be part of our future. He will stay in France next season for more experience, and then we look forward to him joining our group." Goes on to tell us a little bit about Saliba. Signed his first contract at the age of 17, made his professional debut with Saint Etienne in a 3-2 Ligue 1 win over Toulouse on September the 25th, and his performances earned him a further 13 starts in Ligue 1 last season. The 18-year-old is also a French youth international, having been recently called up to his country's under-20 squad. Now, they are very clear that the deal is subject to the completion of the regulatory processes. So William Saliba is a Gooner. That is the latest of the deals to be announced. But there was one announced earlier on today, and that is in regards to the man we've been talking about for a while. It's Dani Ceballos, and he's done a little interview as well, which you can find on Arsenal.com, and he said that it's pronounced Ceballos. Is that right? Close enough. But Dani Ceballos is joining us on a season-long loan from Real Madrid. Now, my understanding is there is no option to buy clause at the end of the first year. That is not in the deal at the moment. However, it is being reported that there is a gentleman's agreement between Arsenal and Real Madrid that if they want to try and sign Ceballos on a permanent basis, Real Madrid will give Arsenal first refusal on that. So that's quite interesting. Again, these are just reports. Nothing has officially been said in regards to this. He made 13 La Liga starts for Real Madrid last season. And on Ceballos, Emery had this to say: "We're excited to see Dani join us. He's a talented player with a big technical ability, creativity and precision." In July 2017, Dani signed for Real Madrid on a 6-year deal, making his competitive debut a month later. He's also a Spanish international, won his first cap in September 2018, scoring his first goal for the country 2 months later. The highly rated creator also took part in this summer's European Under-21 Championship, scoring 2 goals as Spain lifted the trophy. Ceballos will be wearing the number 8 shirt next season. Here's a few pictures of him that the Arsenal website have released. That standard picture of him signing the contract. It's probably a water bill or something that he's holding. But yeah, it's just a few images there. And you can get your Dani Ceballos Arsenal shirts right here. You can get them. And look, they've even put a link as if you weren't tempted enough to buy one. Here you go. D Ceballos. That's how it's going to have it on the back of his shirt, which is interesting. I never like it when players put their first initial there. Unless you've got 2 players in the team with the same name, I don't get why people do that. But anyway, that's the Delo. So we've got Ceballos, we've got Saliba, and everybody feel a lot better about things now, don't they? No question about that. You can win a signed William Saliba shirt on the website, and just some little bits and pieces, in regards to the players that we brought in, and the interviews, etc., etc. All the media stuff that you expect. A bit of a quote here from William Saliba. Again, you can find this here, but this is what he kind of had to say following the announcement that he will be an Arsenal player, and they've got the headline there: the history, the bad. It made my mind up. Here is how the interview went in terms of the transcript. I'm not going to read through all of it because that would bore you, and you can read it yourselves. But William, welcome to Arsenal. How does it feel to have signed for us? He says, well, first of all, it's a massive pleasure to sign for a really, really big English club. This is the biggest club in England for me, so it was an easy decision. I didn't think twice about signing here, so I'm really, really happy. Biggest club in England? I don't even think that we're that. But lovely to hear him backing us, of course. Here's an interesting question, so I will tell you about this one. We know that you had a choice between us and our rivals, Tottenham. What was it about Arsenal that made you want to come here? And it goes back to that quote, doesn't it? Well, the history, the badge. Since I was little, I've been watching Arsenal play in the Champions League, and and there are lots of French players who have come through here, so that really, really helped to make my mind up. William Saliba pointing to the contingent of French players that have played for Arsenal Football Club over the years. Let's have a look at some of your live comments that are coming through. Let's see what we have here. Sasid Wasami says, for some odd reason, I think Cahill will join as the centre-back on a free. That will have any money left after a winger and Tierney. So Sassid's assuming that we're going to get a winger and we're going to get Tierney. We're going to get those deals over the line. That'll be interesting to see whether we can make those things happen. Gary Cahill on a free transfer. Would you take him? Let me know in the comments. Certainly would be an upgrade on some of the players we've currently got. So it'll be interesting. Let's have a look at some of your other comments in regards to the captaincy at Arsenal. Shyway TV says, Ozil for captain. It's not a debate. I think it is a debate. I think it's a debate that, you could make a case for 2 or 3 players, not because any of them are a standout candidate, but purely because none of them are. And that makes it even more difficult to choose who your captain's going to be. I'm not completely against Ozil getting the armband. I said that at some point this last season, and I got absolutely hammered for it. But you just get the impression that maybe that extra bit of responsibility will do him good. I don't know. Tommy O'Donoghue says, just hope we sort out our defence. Agree with you, mate. I cannot agree with you more. It's all good signing the likes of Ceballos. It's all good getting Saliba for next season. But for the here and now, Arsenal really, really, really need to, address the problems that we've got. And it feels like at this moment in time, that's not been done as of yet. Let's see what else we've got here. Sasid Wasami again. Please mention how Raul is doing a madness with a tight budget. Gazidis and Sven jumping ship. Monchi rejecting us. No sporting director. If Tierney, Sebak, and Zaha join, then you've got to give Raul some credit. There's no question about that. And I don't think anybody's against giving Raul credit, to be honest with you. I don't know why people have that impression. I just think that the way the club's been run in the last few years has been poor from top to bottom. And people have a right to be frustrated by what they've seen over the last few years. No doubt about that. Chappie TV, Harry, you good, bro. Catch up soon. Leicester coming for that top 6 place. Watch your backs. Lee Chappie there from with his Leicester channel. Do head over and check that out. Great mate and a good lad. So all the best to you, Chappie, but you're not coming for Arsenal's place. I'm not worried about that just yet. So, that brings us towards the end of today's Chronicles FC Daily. Not a great deal to go into depth about. We've talked to death about Ceballos and Saliba in the last few weeks, but it's been nice to know, isn't it, that we finally got those deals over the line. That's so, so important. Now we can move forward. Now we can start, hopefully preparing for the new season. And fingers crossed we'll see 1 or 2 more arrivals before the window shuts. Interesting to note that the We Care, the You campaign it's still going on in the background. I've had some people asking me, it's still there. Those guys are doing a fantastic job making sure that everything is done properly, professionally, and they will be at the Q&A with the club tonight. So expect some feedback from that event tomorrow. I'll be bringing you some of that feedback and letting you know what was discussed and what was said, etc., etc. So we'll be dissecting that tomorrow in more detail. Just give you a couple more minutes to get your questions in if you want to. That is, of course. Before we end this podcast, this stream, big thanks and big shout out to every single one of you who's watching us live, whether you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, or Periscope. It doesn't really matter as long as you're showing your support. We are grateful. Joe Kenny says, do you think a Pepe transfer is on the cards? This is interesting. I've got a feeling that Pepe may be on his way to Manchester United. I think that that's something that's been widely discussed in the last few weeks, and I think that the way that the Lille chairman's been talking about him sort of having his future almost decided, it suggests that someone is quite advanced in their negotiations for him. I don't think that Arsenal are going to spend £70 million on any winger. But if they will spend a lot, if they are going to spend a large amount, I think it will be on Wilfred Zaha. I think based on what we've known and what we've seen in the last few weeks, it's very clear that he's a major priority for Unai Emery, and he's someone that Unai Emery really, really admires. So if we are going to get a winger in, I think it will be Wilfred Zaha, especially if it's going to be an expensive winger. I don't quite see Pepe join Arsenal, unfortunately. Here's another from Oporum Felim. I hope I've said that right. We need defenders, seriously. You're absolutely right, mate. I've been beating that drum all summer. Arsenal need to recruit defensively. A lot of people talk about Kieran Tierney and the fact that we need a left back, and I agree with that. But what about the right back position? That's also another position that desperately needs addressing, because with Hector Bellerin going to miss the beginning of the season, are you confident that Ainsley Maitland-Niles is enough to fulfill that role? And this is not a reflection of Ainsley Maitland-Niles, because it's important to remember that he's not a right back by trade. He's been thrown into that position, been asked to do an almost impossible job. He's done okay at times, but I thought that particularly in the second half of the season, he really, really struggled. So I agree with you, but I also think it's worth noting that the right back position is a little bit threadbare too, unless Unai's counting on Callum Chambers and Carl Jenkinson to backfill that position. Who knows? Chappie TV says, what Arsenal's actual aim this season? Cup run or focus on the top four? Lime, I think it's got to be the top four. I think we were, really poor to miss out given the opportunities we had towards the back end of last season. And the thought of missing out again, you don't know where Arsenal will end up. It's quite clear that we've been hit financially by the fact we're not in the Champions League. And of course, it handicaps you in negotiations as well, because lots of top players want to play in the Champions League. I really, really want to see Arsenal get back in that position. And I think it's kind of like, I think back a couple of years ago, Manchester United dropped out of the race for the top four and then focused on the Europa League and ended up going down that route and getting back in the Champions League. I think Arsenal's problem this season in many ways was they were in the run for both for too long, and it meant that Unai Emery couldn't divert his attention fully to one or the other, and as a result, we ended up burning out and blowing both of them. So I guess you've got to assess that later on in the season and see how things go. This next comment comes from Zod Sinclair. Arsenal 6'6" centre-back from Olympiacos, Pape Abou Cisse, 23 years old, Senegalese, or 6'2" centre-back from Juve, Daniel Rugani, 24 years old. Get one, Arsenal. I dare you. Now, whilst I think that Rugani would be an lead on some of the players we already have, I do cover a lot of Italian football, the Simply Serie A show, which is another SoForce media production. So keep an eye out for that. It'll be returning in a couple of weeks' time. But Daniel Rugani, he's not top quality. He's not bad, but I think you've had higher hopes for him than what he's actually shown since he's sort of been featuring in the team. They've gone and got De Ligt now as well. It's clear that Rugani's fallen down the pecking order, and yes, would be an upgrade to some of those Arsenal defenders. And I'd like to see him join the club, but don't be fooled and think that Daniel Rugani is a top centre half, because lots of people close to Juventus and in Italian football will tell you that he's not quite in that top bracket of centre halves. And I know Juventus' standard of centre halves is a very, very high one. Doesn't say much, but just bear that in mind. Right, that brings us to the end of today's podcast or /stream, whatever you want to call it. Ceballos and Saliba are Gooners. We'll have to wait a year to see one of them play, but at least we know that he will be ours eventually. Looking forward to the Emirates Cup this Sunday as well, where I'll be in the press box. I'm really, really looking forward to that. So I'll be bringing you some content of the Chronicles of a Gooner, and I'll be writing some pieces too for various outlets. We'll be back tomorrow with another stream, another podcast. Until then, try to stay cool. And we'll catch up tomorrow. All the best.